Hello fellow YouTubers, this is Nick from NOB Solutions, and today I'm going to show you how to quickly configure DHCP failover on Windows Server 2012 R2. In this video, I'm going to start by checking my current DHCP scope, which is currently residing on DC01, and then I'm going to start configuring my DHCP failover between my DC01 and DC02. I'm going to check all of the steps during the configuration of the failover, and I'm going to try to explain that to you. I'm going to look on the load balance mode and the host standby mode, and I'm going to choose one between them just to show you how you can configure that and how you can finish the process. After I'm done with the configuration of the DHCP failover, I will show you from where you can check the DHCP failover properties and see if the two servers are healthy and are communicating between each other normally. And I can show you where you can, after you configure the DHCP failover settings, where you can pre-configure them. After that, I'm going to switch to my second domain controller, which is a DHCP server, and I'm going to check and see if my DHCP failover was successful and if my server received all the information about my DHCP scope. And please note that there are prerequisites in order for you to configure this, and this is to have the DHCP role installed and authorized on two member servers. In my case, it's DC01 and DC02. So let's start with the demonstration. I'm going to start by logging into my DC01. And when I go to Tools and then open the DHCP Management Console, let me expand that so you can see. If I expand the IPv4, and I'm going to use my NOB scope, which is my main scope, to replicate to my second domain controller. And in the past, before Windows 2012, we had several options like split scope or DHCP cluster failover, but now Microsoft provides us with really easy solution to use and split our scope between our servers, and so that we can have high availability between our servers. So if you right click on the scope that you want to configure, you can see that you have the option to configure failover, so I'm going to click on that. And in here, it will provide us with some more information, some introduction about the DHCP failover, and it can, in the below window, it will show you the available scopes that you can configure a failover on. You can remove the select all option, and if you have multiple ones, you can choose between them. I'm going to use the one that I've just mentioned above. And the next window is the relationship partner server. So for the relationship partner server, if I click browse add server, it will show me what are the authorized DHCP servers within my domain. So I have only two at the moment, but if you want, you can add additional ones. And please note that the DHCP failover cannot be configured on more than two servers, so for one scope. So if you have one scope, the maximum servers that you can replicate this scope is two. So I'm going to choose from one of my authorized DHCP servers, which is my DC02. Click OK. It will verify that the server is reachable up and running. And if you pre-configured before that DHCP scope for the current one, it will save the changes, and it will ask you to, if you want to reuse the existing failover relationship, or if any exists, or if you want to create a new one. So I want to create a new one. And on the next page you will see that you will have the relationship name. So just for it will basically configure that with the names of the servers, but let me, for easier access, I will just specify DC01 to DC02. Okay, And the next value that you can configure is the maximum client lead time. And basically what this defines is how much time extension a partner server can provide to a client based on the time known by the partner server. So Microsoft on their website recommend that within testing purposes you can use less than 1 hour, you can use a minute for example, but in production environments you need to stick with an hour or above that. So next is the mode that you can choose, which is load balance or hot standby. So the load balance, as you can see from the name, it can split the percentage of the scope. So my first server will give 50% of my IPs, and my partner server, my second server, will give the other 50%. You can specify a different value if you want, different percentages between them. And the other option is the hot standby option. So what will this do is it will configure a server that is going to be active. And this server is going to give IP addresses to all my clients. But for example, if something happens to that server, the other one will try to contact that server to see if it's up and running, and if it's not able to detect it within a specified time, it will start giving IP addresses. So you have two options to configure the partner server to be active or to be standby. By default it's standby. So what does that mean is that my DC02 will be a standby server. Below I can configure how much of the IP addresses are reserved by the standby server. So it depends on how many are your clients. The default is 5%, but if you have a lot of clients, maybe you need to consider and reserve more of this space. So I'm going to stick with the default 5%, and this is the next value is the state switchover interval. So this is when, for example, my DC01 is something happens and it's not reachable. My DC02, it's going to check if my first server is reachable, and if it loses connection to my first server, it will wait 60 minutes to restore the connection before switching over and before it begins to give IP addresses. So this thing you need to consider, because for example, if my DC01 is not available and my clients are not able to receive IP addresses, within the next 60 minutes they will still not receive any IP addresses until my DC02 becomes active. So for example, if you have a lot of users that are connecting, you need to consider this value and making it smaller, for example 10 minutes. So after 10 minutes, if DC02 is not able to contact DC01, it will start giving IP addresses. And right on the bottom is the shared secret. That is the secret between the two DHCP servers to secure the communication between them. So this is really important and you need to specify it. Let me specify 1, and I'm going to click next. And the next window will show me a summary of what I just did, and I'm going to click finish. It's going to configure all the settings. It finished successfully. I'm going to click close to that window. And now if I right click once again on my scope and go to properties, I will see a failover tab right on the top. And I can see all the information that I specified when I configured my failover. And I can see what is the state of this server and what is the state of the partner server. So for example, if something is not working, it's always good to check this tab to see if the communication between the two servers is up and running and everything is okay. Another way for you to check it is if you go to your server right on the top. Let me just see, it's on the IPv4, I'm sorry. And if you go to properties and again failover, you can see that I have currently the DC01, DC02 failover. If I edit here, I will see all the information once again, and I can reconfigure the settings if I want to do this. So I'm going to leave it like that, and I'm going to switch to my second server. In there I'm going to open my server manager, DHCP console, and let's see if my second server was able to replicate all the changes. Okay, I can see that here I have the scope, I have the address leases for all of my machines, and in here again I can open the properties, check the failover, and I can see if the connection to my active server is normal. So this is how you can configure a DHCP failover. It's really easy, really fast, and if you want, you can choose between hot standby and between load balance mode. So I hope that this video could help you to configure your personal DHCP failover, because it's really important to have disaster recovery in case of something happens with your DHCP. So thank you very much for viewing, and see you soon.